Alan, what is the outlook for the U.S. dollar index?
So the U.S. dollar is lower again today. Also, there is a double bottom in this market that I believe will be tested and probably penetrated. Keep in mind that interest rate differential expectations are still negative for the dollar index. So with pressure in recent days, pressure I think is likely over the next couple of weeks. So nothing really changing. The dollar index is likely to work lower from these current levels.
What are the fundamentals affecting the interest rate futures market?
So the fundamentals affecting the interest rate futures markets are basically central banks remain very accommodative, but are likely to stay that way for quite some time. And it appears that there is a very good chance that the Fed will keep interest rates at 0 to 25 basis points at the September policy meeting. Also, it is very unlikely that there will be any rate increases from any of the major central banks this year, probably not even next year. So it's the front end of the curve that I believe will remain supported. At least the futures at the front end will continue to be very firm and work higher as central banks are very supportive of that part of the interest rate curve.
What is the outlook for stock index futures?
So the S&P 500 futures are closing in on the record high of 3396.50, seeing gains today. Also, we do have the ongoing tensions between the U.S. and China, and yet stock index futures remain very firm. It appears that the low interest rates and other stimulative measures are very supportive to stock index futures. So from here, I think it is likely that additional strength is coming into the stock index futures. Don't forget, it was not that long ago that the NASDAQ made some new record highs. So additional gains, I believe, are in store across the board for stock index futures.
Steve, grains are rallying. Why? Will this continue? Should U.S. farmers sell into this rally?
Over the last weekend, today, Monday, grain futures have rallied. At first, the rally was due to some short covering in front of the USDA crop report. Second, there was an unprecedented windstorm that moved across parts of Iowa and into northwest Illinois. People are still trying to assess crop damage. We've heard numbers as high as 1 billion bushels, and more realistic numbers that the corn crop, U.S. crop, could be down 300 million bushels. Again, that's not really enough to rally prices, but certainly it triggered fund short covering in the corn. There's not expected to be any damage done to the soybean crop. I don't think the rally continues much higher. I think that we have plenty of supply to satisfy the demand. And should farmers sell into this rally? I think so. Outside of Iowa, 340 D's corn, plus $9 November beans. There's even some that say both Chicago and Kansas City 2021 July wheat should be sold at these price levels.
What is the latest on U.S. and China trade talks?
The U.S. and China had scheduled trade meeting on Saturday. This was just a 6-month review of what China has bought based on the Phase 1 trade deal. The meeting was postponed because of scheduling conflicts. But both groups talk to each other periodically, maybe every other day. To this point, China has been a good buyer of U.S. beans, U.S. sorghum, and U.S. pork. Some people think they will reduce their pork buying as their animal numbers grow inside of China. They still haven't bought anything relatively large out of the corn complex, and that's one area that we really need that type of buying to offset the drop in ethanol demand.
What is the latest U.S. world weather outlook?
The U.S. weather has turned dry for the next 2 weeks. Temperatures probably will be normal, and then the next week will probably dip a little bit below normal. Will this take an edge off what the USDA said is a record crop? I don't think anybody knows for sure. This week we have Pro Farmer Crop Tour that starts in South Dakota and Ohio, works into the middle of the country. So every night we'll be watching to see what kind of reports they have for yields, especially in corn, versus the USDA's August numbers. Historically, they've been pretty close with their corn and soybean yields versus what the USDA says in September. And in September, the USDA will have their first field survey data to plug in to come up with corn and bean yields. I think right now, the November beans is trading over the 200-day moving average for the first time since January. Resistance is at 920. September corn is testing the 100-day moving average with resistance at 340. And December wheat has resistance at 520, then again at 540.